Good morning, everyone, and happy Wednesday. Let's just give everyone a minute to join before we begin. In the meantime, go ahead and write in the chat bar on the right side of your screen where you're joining from. Perfect. We have Bertha from Denver. We have Michelle from Savannah, Ashley from LA, Paula from Iowa. We have Brent from Zealand, and then I see more Iowas, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, British Columbia, Kilovna. I don't think if I'm pronouncing that right, but oh, we have Peter from Poland. That should be pretty late in the evening for you, Peter. Barry from California. Oh, it's 6 p.m. Yeah, I guessed. Awesome. So let's go ahead and get things started here. Again, thank you everyone for joining us today for our webinar on BIM and tasks in 3D. My name is Pranati Gompa and I'm a marketing program manager here at Fieldwire. Before we begin, I would like to address a few housekeeping items. Again, to ensure a smooth session, all of you attendees are muted, but please don't hesitate to ask any questions you may have in that chat panel, the same place where you're writing where you're from. We will get to the Q&A session at the end of this presentation, and we'll do our best to address as many questions as we can. For any questions we don't get to, we will reach out to you directly and answer them. We also have some poll questions during the webinar for you to participate in. Please feel free to select your answers when the questions pop up. Again, this just helps us understand the demographics, what you're looking for in this presentation, and things like that. And at the end, we have a short 6 question survey. Again, we would really appreciate it if you could fill that out. And that survey actually determines the usefulness of this content that we delivered. And also, if you have any suggestions of topics that you want to see in our future webinars, please go ahead and add it to that survey. And before we dive into the webinar, let's do a little bit of practice with filling out the poll questions. I have a couple of questions so that we can learn a little bit more about you. And the first question is here. What type of company do you work for? AEC, general contractor, sub, and others. If you're selecting others, go ahead and add what that others mean in the chat bar, um, in the chat on bottom right. Let's give it a minute. See, looks like we have pretty fair division between all different options. Okay. Oh, so the others are manufacturers. That makes sense. Let's go ahead answer this next poll question. What's your role at your company? Project manager, project coordinator, project engineer, super, project executive, or others. Again, if you're writing other, just go ahead and mention your role in the chat. I see quite a few others. I'm assuming the CAD systems manager, that makes sense. We have a BIM coordinator. Awesome. So let's go back to the presentation. Thanks for answering those poll questions. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Eric and Colleen to take this webinar forward. The floor is yours.
Cool. Thank you, Pranati. Thank you all for joining from all over the world. My name is Eric Campos. I am a solutions engineer here at Fieldwire. I've been here for a few years, but have nearly a decade of experience designing fire protection systems for commercial buildings. So BIM is something that's very near and dear to my heart. I've worked with all types of solutions for design, clash detection, coordination, and project execution. So I'm excited to show you what we have to offer with Fieldwire and just how it could help teams bring their models directly into those field workflows. I'll pass it over to Colleen.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. Hi, everyone. I'm Colleen. I'm a senior product manager here at Fieldwire. Also started my career in construction, working for a general contractor. And then I came to Fieldwire over 7 years ago. Been working with companies to integrate Fieldwire into their workflows. And the last couple of years, I've spent focused on BIM and making that more accessible for people in the field. So excited to show you what we've been working on today.
Cool, thank you. So for today's agenda, we're going to go over a quick overview of Fieldwire. Then we're going to jump into a product demo to walk you through the model management and navigation piece. And we'll show you how teams can use that information to create actionable field processes through tasks. Finally, we'll wrap up with a look at what's coming up on our roadmap and leave some time at the end for Q&A. Cool. So let's go ahead and get started here. So what is Fieldwire, right? I'm assuming most of you already know and have an idea of what Fieldwire is, but for those of you who don't, Fieldwire is a construction management platform that combines project coordination, field execution, and BIM workflows, helping teams build more efficiently from by communicating from the field to the office. So we're giving construction teams a single source of truth and helping everyone coordinate work, resolve issues faster, and then keep those projects moving forward. So here you could see some of those different modules that we offer. But as we mentioned, today's focus is going to be on BIM.
Great. So we, again, have been working on integrating BIM into those field workflows for a couple of reasons. You might have more people in your organization who are building in 3D and wanting to integrate those new workflows into that field to office communication. And so what that might actually look like on a day-to-day basis is an installer in the field has a complicated condition. They historically have only been able to view the 2D plan, but now they have the ability to reference the 3D model directly from the plan so that they can clarify what's actually intended to be installed, get those additional angles, and better understand how they need to proceed. If they need to communicate with the office, they can snap a photo, send it up to the PM in the office, who can then work with the detailer, the BIM coordinator, or the designers to get updated designs in the model, and then send that back to the field so that they can proceed more accurately and a little bit faster. So excited, to be able to bring this to those in the field.
Cool. Now, before we get into the demo, we just want to remind everyone, so the 3D models module is available on our Business and Business Plus tiers. So we're going to be covering that, and any questions related to the tiers or pricing, please visit fieldwire.com/pricing or reach out to us directly. Now, let's get into the demo portion. So to start with our models and how they're uploaded, it's a very straightforward process. So similar to what we've been doing with the plans, you have the ability to just drag and drop your model into our platform. So we're going to walk through this process. At the moment, we're accepting IFC file types, but we'll get into it later on, and as far as like what other file types we're looking to expand upon. But straightforward process, simply drag and drop your model set here. So we'll go ahead and do that, and then just upload as you would with any other file. So what's great about this portion here is that if your model contains elevations, Fieldwire is automatically going to pull those elevations out of the model and allow you to quickly calibrate between your 2D set and your 3D set. So here you can see that model has already been uploaded. I can go in here and check it out, give you a quick sneak peek. You can see here I have also my levels shown, but let's go into the calibration portion of it. So once you have your plan sets uploaded, your 3D models uploaded as well, we can go into our plan calibrations, and you'll notice here that we had 7 elevations that were automatically pulled from our 3D model. So this is going to save you time without having to go back and forth from, your plan set or your model, on a different platform and identifying what those elevations are. They're going to get pulled out, and now we can just calibrate towards them. So to do that, we simply select the plan or multiple plans that we have that we want to calibrate to that. In this case, I'll select our floor plan. And if we wanted to select another one like the ceiling plan or the RCP plan, we have that option. So let's go ahead and calibrate these. And now you're going to be presented with this view where you have the ability to then essentially do an overlay of your 2D plan on your 3D set. So the instructions are pretty clear. We just select the different corners that we want. So we'll select that left corner and then find that right corner on this model. Now we're selecting the bottom right corner to make sure that it's aligned and it all matches up. So that looks pretty good. We'll go ahead and save this elevation. In the instance that you, for example, are like, hey, maybe my model elevation was off by a little bit, or I want to modify it, you always have that option to then increase that elevation or modify it and see that cut section grow. So what I mean by that is, like, let's say, for example, I wanted to go higher up. You'll notice how it changes the view of the model. So if you, for example, can't see the walls and they're just a couple inches higher or a foot higher, you have that option to just change that elevation during this calibration view. So we've done the first one. Now you'll see the second one automatically lines up with where we had that. And let's say, for instance, like this one was off by a little bit, I always have the option to just move it, make sure those walls aligned with our plan. I could zoom in and out and just quickly calibrate that. So once we're good, we can have that calibrated, and we'll get into this shortly later today to see how that kind of ties into the model. But now that we have our model uploaded, as we all know, most projects don't just have one model. You'll often have, your structural set, your MEP set, other specialty trade models. So Fieldwire is going to allow us to combine those models into a federated view so that teams can see how those systems interact with each other. So this is going to be super helpful during, coordination reviews, installation planning, or just issue resolution. So to do that, we're going to do the same process. We're going to upload our other models here and just let those, kind of combine into that one federated view. So we'll give this a second here. And similar to what we did with that first model, when you have that elevations, those specific elevations, they're automatically going to get pulled into our module here. But you could see now I have those different, I have my architectural set, my electrical set, and then my plumbing and HVAC set as well. So what we can do now is go over to our federated view here, and it's going to combine everything. So now you can see, we saw earlier today the architectural set, but what we can do now is isolate those different models. So to show you, I can just toggle this off, and I could see the different electrical set, or I could hide that as well and just keep the plumbing and HVAC model shown. But with this object tree, I have the ability to quickly isolate different models. If I expand this, I can see the different elevations too that were pulled out of that model and just toggle them on or off. So this is super helpful if you ever need to find specific information or all that information becomes a bit overwhelming. You can focus on some of those components. Within this object tree as well, you'll see you have the option to quickly organize models based on elements or their structure. So what I mean by that is, like, let's say, for example, I wanted to just isolate or hide everything that was a wall so I can look into my building. I could find that category, hide that, and now I could quickly see inside of my building. I can zoom in and see those different elements. And navigation within the module is very straightforward. If you ever have a question, you could simply hit this question mark here, and this kind of walks you through what those different controls are. But looking inside my window, I can quickly see everything inside of my building. I can go into the properties of certain elements and see that information. So I could see this categories windows, you know, if that wasn't obvious, but I always have that option as well to turn that off. Like, let's say my windows are part of not something that I want to include, toggle that off, and I could, you know, take a closer look at that model. So this object tree is going to be super helpful for teams who want to, you know, hide all that busy information or just make it easier to just navigate through the model. In addition to the object tree, we have the ability to create cut sections too. So this is another way that you can leverage the model to, you know, just slice the model and inspect those conditions that normally wouldn't be visible, right? So we can hide the walls, but sometimes we need that information to kind of see what it's backed up against. So to do that, we'll simply create our cut section. You'll notice that as I pan over my mouse on different elements, it's going to be parallel to that plane. So let's say, for example, I wanted to cut this section. I'll simply select it, and I have the ability to then pull, either expand it or compress it here to hide that. So let's say I wanted to create this cut section here and one on this wall. Now I'll have that option to then look directly into my building and I've created those two cut sections. So I didn't have to hide those elements, but now I have the option to look into my building. So with this, let's just say, for example, you know, I wanted to cut those sections to see what my elevation for my lighting fixtures were. This is where I can start taking those measurements. So really straightforward process. Simply select on the element that you want, and then you can also just select anywhere on that floor. So we could see, you know, our elevation for our lighting fixture to the bottom of it is at 11'3" above finished floor. Maybe this is one of those scenarios where we're like, hey, we know on our plan that it's actually supposed to be 11'6". So we need to raise this elevation up for this to be accurate on the model. This is where we can use some of this information that we've just extracted from the model and create an actionable item. So to do that, we can create a task, just like we've done with, you know, within Fieldwire, just on our 2D plans. We could do that within the 3D environment as well. So to do that, we simply create a task. Let's just say we'll link it to this lighting fixture here. I can name it, you know, give that context. Should be at 11'6". Above finished floor. And now we've created that task directly onto that 3D module. But as we saw here, like, I can always take those measurements, provide that additional context within the plan. So let's just say, you know, I go in here, take that measurement. What I can do here is take a screenshot or the snapshot of this view that we have, that we've already cut and kind of produced. And I could always link it to my task that I've created. So we know for a fact this needs to be at 11'6". I have that task that I'm tracking for. Now I can create that snapshot. I can mark it up as well. So let's say, for example, if I know that needs to be at a different elevation, I can just call that out here. 11'6", and then maybe some additional markups. In this case, we could see those are 11'8", so maybe we have to lower them. Just call them out, which ones are those lighting fixtures that need to be modified. So we'll go ahead and hit save. And what you'll see is that within that task, we have all the information that we need, right? We have the context, we know where this exists on the 3D model. We have the additional snapshot information that we've just created that's also living within our photos gallery. So if we ever need to create an RFI from this or some, you know, use this photo and other elements within Fieldwire, we have that option. And then within our task too, I could see how this is tied directly to those plans that we've previously calibrated, right? We calibrated that level 1 and floor plan and RCP plan in the beginning of the process. And now I could see how it's all connected. Cool. So that pretty much covers this portion of it. If there's any other questions, we could jump back into the model, and I can walk through the team through any other additional information. The last thing I want to call out is just our view here for our tasks. So we have the ability to just hide those or bring them up. So as you have tasks that you're creating throughout your project, you can quickly identify them, create them, and say like, hey, here's a task for one of my walls. You'll see that they're going to get loaded up within your sidebar here. Cool. With that, I'll pass it over to Colleen for the roadmap portion.
Great. Thanks, Eric. Great demo. So I'll talk a little bit about what is coming in the next couple of months. So as Eric showed, a 3D snapshot within tasks. This was just released this week. So super excited about expanding the functionality of tasks and 3D together, and also making it easier for users to jump from any of the 3D snapshots into the model more easily wherever those are linked. As Eric showed in the beginning of the process, today the files that we accept are only IFC files, but we are working on supporting Revit file uploads as well. So you'll see the ability to upload RBT files in the next couple of months. Another topic that we're working on currently is BIM NLP, which is natural language processing. So this allows users to interact with the model using natural language instead of manually clicking things on the object tree. So Eric showed how you could turn off all of the windows in a certain area. Instead of searching through that object tree, finding the windows on the certain level that you want to hide them on. Soon you'll be able to type into a prompt, hide windows on level 2, and the model will respond exactly as you prompted it. So we're very excited about that. On the mobile side, in the coming weeks, we'll also be launching the federated view. So similar to what you saw on web, users will be able to view all of their trade models in a single view, so that they can better understand how the different trades lay out together and get those additional angles that you might not get just from your 2D plans. Some things that we're focusing on for the second half of the year: version control. So if you're a seasoned Fieldwire user, you're probably very familiar with the version control on our plans tab. We want to bring that to BIM as well. So making sure if you have older versions of your models that you need to reference, you can easily reference those, and eventually sort and filter by the versions that were uploaded in a package together. Uh, Eric also showed creating tasks in the model. Today, those don't have any relationship with the objects directly, but we know that lots of our customers want to be able to report on not only tasks, but specifically how those tasks relate to things in the model. For example, if you want to show what percentage of windows have been installed, soon you'll be able to link a task directly to each window object, and then you'll be able to run a report on all of the tasks that are linked to windows and show what percentage of the windows have already been installed, which tasks have been completed, which should help with billing and getting paid faster, which I know we all are always excited about. And then lastly, on the website, we are going to also be supporting Navisworks files later this year. So similar to Revit, as well as IFC. Towards the end of the year, we'll have the ability to upload Navisworks files in addition to the other two. And then rounding out the year on the mobile side, we are going to be getting more and more parity between the web and mobile experience, so that 2D to 3D jumping will be available on mobile. So teams in the field, if they're viewing a plan and they need that additional context, they can just tap somewhere on the plan and it'll jump them to that same location in 3D. And they'll be able to more deeply interact with the 3D tasks on their mobile devices, so that they can get better context, not just for the single trade 2D plans, but again, seeing it in the context of that federated model.
There we go. I was muted. Thank you so much, Colleen and Eric, for going over the demo and the roadmap. Before we go into the Q&A, again, go ahead and add any Q&A questions that you have in the chat box on the bottom right. Couple of things. Yes, we will send the presentation to everyone, or the recording and the presentation to everyone once the webinar is done in a day or so. You should receive a follow-up email from us. And if you want the certificates, go ahead and add your names to the chat. I can just send you like a training participation, webinar participation certificate as well. Before we dive into the Q&A, I have one last poll question for you. Um, what features of this presentation would you potentially use in your workflows? And this is a check all that apply. So whatever you like, whatever you think you would be using, go ahead and check those features. Perfect. Thank you so much for answering that. Let's go back and start our Q&A. The first question for either of you can take it. Which accounts have the 3D option? I'm wondering, this is talking about the tiers. Maybe one of you can just answer that.
Yeah, so the 3D models will be available within the Business and Business Plus tier of Fieldwire.
Perfect. So going to the different kinds of files to be added, we have a question that asks about adding DWG files.
Yep. So this isn't currently on our roadmap, but we do get requests for this. So right now we're focused on the Revit and Navisworks file support, but this is definitely something that's on our radar for the future. And we'll make sure to track in our feedback system as well.
Perfect. Colin, maybe this question is also for you. Do the project AORs normally provide the IFC file?
It really depends on how the contractors all work together. I think typically you'll see when a project kicks off, you'll have a BIM execution plan that dictates who's providing the models to who. In the beginning, it may start from an architect providing the architectural model, and then mechanical and electrical designers or subs building their specific trade models within the architectural model. But it'll either come directly from the architect or the entire consulting firm, or from the individual consulting firms, and sometimes potentially the subcontractors as well, depending on the intent of the model. But IFCs do get exported from Revit, so anyone who has the Revit file and Revit on their computer could export the IFC. I don't know. Maybe that's where the question was going as well.
Yeah, I guess so. Thank you for that. Eric, this is for you. Can you show the screenshot option from the BIM model again?
Yeah, of course. So the screen or snapshot option, it'll be located on the left over here. You'll see here where you can take a snapshot. So this is where we can make those cut sections, really just manipulate the model in the way that makes sense for the team, and then just take that snapshot. And then this is where you can either link it to a task or simply just save that snapshot as a photo. When you link it to a task, though, that's where you have the option to add additional markups as well. So if you needed to call out anything, like let's say we wanted, again, call out those lighting fixtures, you have that option, and that information will live within your task here with those markups. But additionally, those snapshots will live within your photos module.
Got it. Thank you so much for showing us that. There are a couple of more questions about the DWGs, Colin. I'm just like saying that to you for record. But also we have Victoria saying that they generally get their Revit models from architects or like DWGs from architects. The Revit is on our roadmap, right?
Yep. Yeah. So if you're receiving Revit files, you can always request that instead they share the IFC files, especially if you're looking to get started with this tomorrow or later today. They should be able to export as IFC instead of RVT. That's just another option, just like you would save something as a PDF from Microsoft Word. But we will have Revit available in the coming months as well.
Awesome. This is slightly a different question about mobile. Maybe Colin, you can take this. Is the web version faster than the mobile version? And if so, do larger projects add routers/internet access in the field once possible? Like, how is the mobile
So
behavior?
yeah, I can talk a little bit to this. So, it really depends on the device. So, probably on average, because we see a lot of old devices around, you will see web being a little bit faster. But I think we generally see that Apple is a little bit better when it comes to rendering those 3D graphics. Than Android might be. And then the newer the device that you have, the faster it's going to be on mobile. Regarding internet access, we do download the model to your device. So it is going to be available offline. So that additional internet access won't really make a difference once it's on your device.
Perfect. Thank you. The next question is, would there be specific file folder for the IFCs and how's that handled? Can you maybe show where the files go, the .ifcs, when we upload them to the BIM module?
Yeah, so you'll have your models living here within the 3D models module, and then this is where you can see all your different models.
Awesome. And then you can create new folders as well if you want to like save them. This pretty much works as very similar to the other folder structure that we have. Perfect. Thank you so much for showing that, Eric. And that pretty much ends our Q&A session here. Thank you everyone for joining us. I just want to like spend a little bit of time on the resources. We do have a lot of resources apart from webinars. We have our tutorials, our knowledge base, which literally has all topics about Fieldwire. If you still have any questions, you can always connect with our support team. And if you want to learn more, you can book a demo with us. And also, if you like what you've seen today about BIM and you want to be on beta testing, or like enroll for beta testing with the BIM modules, you can go ahead and sign up there. I can also share the beta testing link with you guys, and it's also on the next page. And it'll come to you on this resort with the presentation as well. Awesome. That ends our presentation today. Thank you so much for joining. And if you can stay back for a couple of minutes after that, and please fill our survey, that would be awesome. Yeah, have a good day. And thank you both, Colleen and Eric, for taking this presentation.